So it is my incredible honor to introduce our next speaker. Patty is a member of our executive leadership team at Wells Fargo, and she is someone who doesn't take no for an answer. She is and has just become, in a newly created position, the head of Hispanic and Latino affairs for the company. Patty is a trailblazer, and she has an unwavering focus and determination on helping, driving, and supporting the advancement for Hispanics and Latinos. So please join me in a huge high-tech welcome for Patty Juarez.
Martha's gifting us out of high-tech. Oh, thank you so much. Are you staying for the book?
Wow, thank you, Lisa, so much. By the way, Lisa is also executive sponsor for the Hispanic and Latino Connection, which I proudly lead at Wells Fargo. So thank you, Lisa, for your service. And can we give it up for her? Because she's been doing an amazing job. I feel like you're ready for like your own show or something. It's really impressive. Wow, I got mic here, mic here, mic here. Can you all hear me? All right. Well, hello, high tech. My Wells Fargo colleagues and I are so excited and honored to be here, hosting the 2023 High Tech Spring Leadership Summit. Many of us have traveled from across the country to be here with you. I was checking in at the Marriott desk at 1 a.m. last night, as I had just gotten off my plane from Miami. I'm personally delighted to be here. My name is Patty Juarez, as Lisa mentioned. I'm Executive Vice President and Head of Hispanic and Latino Affairs at Wells Fargo. I have been at Wells Fargo for a short 28 years. Yes, I know I started as a baby banker, hard to believe, but yes. And I actually immigrated to this country when I was 11 or 12 years old, 11 and a half, from Mexico. So, Cachanilla from Mexicali, Baja California. Thank you. Well, one person from there. This is great. I was introduced to high tech several years ago by my friend Guillermo Diaz. I call him G for short, many of you do. I don't know if he's here. I don't think he's here today, but we send him our love. I was keenly aware of the low representation of Latinos in tech, and I was curious to learn how high-tech leadership was working on changing the landscape. Several conversations later, my friend Ana Valdez, who is the CEO of the Latino Donor Collaborative, Guillermo and I were discussing working on a report that would bring out data that could really highlight this representation issue and the barriers for Latinos, as well as suggest possible opportunities for us to take forward. So Wells Fargo and Latino Donor Collaborative have been long-term partners before the Latinos in Tech report in the development of the Latino GDP report. Any of you familiar with that? Yes? The Latino GDP report highlights the economic power of Latinos in the US. And if we were a country of our own, Latinos in the US would be the 5th largest economy in the world, and the 3rd fastest growing, generating $2.8 trillion in GDP. So the report, the Latino GDP report, has been so well known, it's often quoted by major news outlets, countless corporations, and even the White House. Yes. Oh, thank you. Am I echoing? Sorry. So the power of data and the power of research is something we understood very well. And so we set out to do a new report, and we partnered with high tech. We called Omar. Where are you, Omar? Over there. And we said, well, what do you think about this? And so all I had to do now was, sell the sponsorship internally. So I called my colleague and friend, the fantastic Tally Bray. You heard from her yesterday. And I proposed this to her, and I know that she's been very focused on efforts to increase the number of Latinos at Wells Fargo in technology roles. So this report was done, and I think this will be our third annual, in partnership with High Tech, Omar, Guillermo, Lisa, and the entire team, and it's been an honor and a privilege to be your partner in the past few years, and this is how I came to know this outstanding organization. So, as I was prepping to be your guest today, I chatted with Omar about what possibly could interest a group of super driven, super technologically savvy professionals and technologists that I could share with them. What would they be interested in hearing about? And he said that I should just share my story. That's typically what you guys really want to hear about. And I said to him, well, like since birth? I could get long. I mean, I've seen some novelas, but, So I thought I would tell you a little bit about this immigrant girl. I'm going to use my slides here. Oh, very cool. And I thought I would tell you a little bit about this immigrant girl from Mexico. I've spent my entire life in financial services trying to make capital accessible to women and minorities, particularly my beloved Latino community, while also focusing on the importance of representation, a topic that you're all familiar with. Representation within our client ranks, representation within our colleagues, representation within our communities. So let me walk you a little bit through my journey, and you get to see my beautiful children, Bella and Max, the reason I do everything in this life. And I'll take you back to Mexicali, Mexico. I was born and raised in Mexicali, Mexico, to a family of teachers. My parents, my mom and dad, taught, and then my dad was also an engineer and ran a small maquiladora operation in Mexicali, right on the border. So he ran the operation for about a decade. As a small business owner, my dad was often challenged to stay afloat. As a little girl, I think I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, I would go into his office, and I loved helping with payroll, because what I would do is take all the cash, all these beautiful bills, right, and coins and everything, and I would make an envelope for every single one of his 30 or so employees, and then I would hand them out. And people give you a smile when you're giving them their payroll, So I loved to do this for my dad. And he would often, I would tell him, Dad, like, we're one envelope long and money short. So what's going on here? And he would, pull money out of his wallet, and he would give me whatever was missing. And I would ask him, well, Dad, why don't you just get a loan from the bank? And he would shrug his shoulders, and he would say, I know, mija. No, I won't qualify for that. So a couple years later, he was asked to move to the US to help set up the manufacturing operations in Carlsbad for the company. And the facility was brand new, and my dad had a lot of experience in terms of setting up an operation. And so he said, yes, I would come to the United States. And they said, and you can bring your family. So the company sponsored my dad and my mom and all 4 of us to come to this country. And even though the move was literally like a stone's throw from Mexicali, like we moved to El Centro, just 20 miles away from our original home country, life was very different. And at 11 years old, you're like, wow, my friends, no friends, these teachers I don't know, I don't really understand what they're saying. And it was just different. And I set out to, set an example for my siblings, because my dad set expectations early. He sat us down and said, you guys have to agree that you're gonna work hard and you're gonna try your best, because we're here to achieve the American dream. And I said, okay, I'll sign up for that, because Dad, you work hard to get us here. And so I started, really studying hard, getting good grades. I got into college. I went to Cal, as you can see from my logo and my slide. And I told myself, I will one day become a banker. And most of my friends were like, well, I'll be a supermodel, or I'll be like the king of the world, or I'll be, a doctor and a brain surgeon. And all I wanted to do was become a banker. So early on, we would play Monopoly. I was always the bank. We would play house. I was always the cashier. And my mom says at Easter when we, hunted for all the eggs, I always got the ones with the $20 bills. Somehow, money was something I was very interested in. I just wanted the ability to lend it, not just to have it, but to lend it. And after a few years of hard work and graduating from Berkeley with an accounting degree, I was recruited from school by Wells Fargo to become a commercial banker. And so I started my journey in banking, and I started my journey in life. I got married to my high school sweetheart. I became a mom. I had a senior role in credit. My office was in San Jose, California, Silicon Valley. It was a hot market. It was like the dot-com times, fun times. But then I lived to the dot bust, which was not so fun. But, I started thinking about, well, what else can I do to improve my chances and to do well in life? And so I went and got my MBA with a 2-year-old toddler, Bella. She's 17 now. And life was complicated. Life was complicated. I had a lot on my plate, but also had the love and support of an amazing family. So I took the challenges in stride. I was determined to make it. I was focused on climbing the corporate ladder. I worked hard. I worked smart. Many times I worked late. And I leaned into my family, leaned into my neighbors, leaned into my coworkers, and I started volunteering also in my community, taking roles in organizations that served Latino youth, Latino students, Latino businesses. You see the theme here. I've also encouraged my children, Bella and Max, to give back, so they're both involved in helping foster youth through their involvement in CASA. And so early on in my career at Wells, I noticed that I was often the only Latina in the room, the only woman in the room, the youngest person in the room, and many times I questioned whether I truly deserved to be there, honestly, that imposter syndrome kicking in. And when I was part of credit, I had one colleague. She actually still works at Wells Fargo in Silicon Valley. It's amazing, Lisa Cuppet. Her and I were the only two women in the entire credit chain, in California. And I said to her, we have this leadership conference in San Francisco, and it's going to be you, me, and the boys, because it was really like all of, probably 50-year-old, 60-year-old males in the company that had those credit roles. And she said, yeah, and she's out to here about 8 months pregnant. And she says, yeah, I hope I make it. And I said, well, what do you mean? Like, you have to make it, or else this is gonna be no fun for me. She goes, yeah, I'm good. I'll see you there in a couple weeks. So a couple weeks, fast forward, sure enough, I get a call. I'm so sorry. You guys can guess. Baby came knocking early, and she was in the hospital, on her way to the hospital to give birth to her beautiful twins. And I was by myself in San Francisco with the boys. And, I gotta say, initially I was very hesitant, maybe a little bit intimidated, maybe a little bit nervous. But what I brought to the table were ideas that, frankly, nobody else was bringing into the room, ideas that were different and new and innovative. And so I started feeling, good about myself. I expanded my knowledge of banking. My confidence started to grow. I started to think I could really make a difference for my clients, and they were very happy. I spoke Spanish, I translated their loan docs, I had a lot of Hispanic clients. And they were so happy, they would start referring business to me. Oh, my tia, my primo, and literally, all of a sudden, I have a large book of clients, and that's growing. And so success came quick, and also my realization that I had a duty to these business owners. In fact, many times my clients were the only diverse clients. Like, I would take leadership to see these clients, and they were like the only diverse account that they had visited in a while. So I started to think about how important it was that our client base was diverse and that Latinos were represented. And so that fueled my curiosity. And at that point in time, I'd gotten back to school, gotten my MBA, and I took all my training, and I developed a plan to establish a diverse segments practice within the bank, in the commercial bank, that would be solely focused on strategies to help women and minorities, as they were the fastest growing segments in the portfolio. And we weren't really catering to them in any special way, shape, or form. Many times we didn't have diverse bankers on the bench to really take care of these clients. But it dawned on me as I looked at, how many people were starting businesses, how many women were starting businesses. And I said to myself, well, we gotta do this differently. I got tired of going out with our marketing campaigns, which was to bring a set of barbecue tools or a football. And I'm like, yeah, these clients don't want that. They want something else. They want something that's culturally relevant to them. And so I call this my Shark Tank moment, because I literally put a business plan together in the evenings. I then asked the head of the commercial bank, hey, I have an audience with you, I have an idea. This was 7+ years ago. And I met with the CEO of commercial banking, and I said, this is a bet you have to take. And he looked at me, and he looked at the charts and the maps and the demographics, and he said, yes, we should have been doing this already. And I said, well, we're not. So he allowed me to build a team. And today, I'm happy to say we bank over 5,000 clients, women and minorities, and we have billions of dollars in committed capital, which, by the way, generate really strong recurring revenue for the bank, right? So this isn't just the right thing to do. It's actually the smart thing to do, right? This is good business. But there's still a wide gap in terms of access to capital, especially for Latino-owned businesses. You guys know the statistics. A mere 2 to 3% of venture capital goes to Latino entrepreneurs. Latino small and medium-sized businesses often cite access to capital as their #1 limitation in growing and scaling their businesses. So the work continues, and I have no plans to slow down. Representation matters. Diverse business owners have been a true passion for me. And in order to effectively serve these clients, we also have to have the right talent in the firm. And I have so many of my colleagues here today. Can I get a shout out for my colleagues? Where are you? Wells Fargo table. Thank you. Over here. And so the head of talent acquisition, Xochitl Leon, are you here? I know she's here, so look her up. She and I are working together on trying to figure out how to improve our representation. I'm a fierce advocate for that, and we have to strive to mirror the communities that we serve, as I mentioned earlier, and it's important that Latinos are represented at all levels of the company. If you look at our, thank you. If you look at our D&I report, you see that Latinos at Wells Fargo, we're the largest minority group of the company. We're 17%. This is a 250,000 person company. Do the math, right? It's a lot of us that are at Wells Fargo. And when you look at what happens right after our CEO, Charlie Scharf, the second level, the third level, what happens in those levels? Well, in those levels we're only represented at approximately 5%. And sad to report that that's kind of the same for Chase and B of A and our colleagues that report that are transparent with their data, that report their information. So how do we improve on that? What are the necessary steps that we need to take? I think we need to really focus on this. If you talk to Xochitl, 20% of our incoming workforce is Latino, 20%. So you see that 17% is just going to continue to grow. And because Latinos are a younger cohort and one that is starting households at a faster rate than any other group, I guarantee you, also attaining college degrees at a faster rate than any other group, I guarantee you that number will continue to grow. And if people come into Wells Fargo and they look up and they see a sea of white, guess what? They're not going to make that choice. They're going to go somewhere where they feel, fairly and adequately represented. So we have to do more. And we have to do more, frankly, in retaining our Latino talent out of the firm. So my passion in this work led to my latest assignment. People said, well, you're so passionate about it, I think you should go fix it. And I said, of course, leave it to the Latina to go fix it. So as head of Hispanic and Latino Affairs, I'll show you our little org chart here. Yes, it's pretty flat. It's nice. You can see that Wells Fargo has a group called DSRI, Diverse Segments, Representation, and Inclusion. And my boss, the fabulous Christy Fargo, reports directly to the CEO. In most companies, usually this role reports to like a CDO, it's layered maybe in HR. At Wells Fargo, we actually have it reporting directly to Charlie because this allows our team to focus our work while having the support of senior leadership, Charlie and the operating committee, and really making progress in these endeavors. And so I am very fortunate to work with our external engagement team. I don't know if you guys know these folks, but they're fabulous, Ruben and Gigi, and my associate Karina. And I'm just really excited. So we work on these basic 3 objectives. Number 1 is to increase diverse representation at all levels of the company while creating an inclusive culture and workplace environment. We also work towards better serving and growing our diverse customer segments in each of our lines of business. So after I founded the role in commercial banking, we actually now have a role like mine in all of our lines of business. So whether it's mortgage or private banking, they have a person, a Patty, that drives that work. And then we also work to support and increase our spend with diverse suppliers company-wide. So I'll go to the next slide so I can walk you a little bit through my new role. In Hispanic and Latino Affairs, our objectives are similarly focused, obviously, to the groups. And my 3 areas of focus are customers, community, and my colleagues. In terms of the community, I manage a portfolio, and you see the names there, organizations we all love. I manage a portfolio of stakeholders, external stakeholders, and national partners. And we're tasked with deepening relationships and establishing new relationships with organizations that support Latinos. I manage these relationships, LVAN, USHCC, LDC, to name a few. And I'm just really delighted to partner with them to bring product, services, support, capacity building programs to Latino employees, customers, and suppliers. And then we also work on customers, right? The business opportunity and ensuring that we have great representation there and collaboration to elevate our clients and really meet their needs. And we are hoping to establish a council of our clients that give us continuous feedback so we can really take care of their needs. And then lastly, but not least, and my biggest passion is colleagues. We focus on representation. As you can see, we have to build bench strength. If the 2 or so levels below Charlie, if those positions come open and we don't have anybody on 5 and 6, right, to take on those jobs, we have failed. And so we have been on a mission to try to understand what are the needs of those executives, what is any training or development that they need so that they are ready when the opportunity comes. I've been able to get lots of feedback from my colleagues on the things we need to do to improve. And I also get a lot of feedback because I am the president of our ERG. We call them ERNs, everybody calls them something different. But what my biggest job is as president is to create a community, a sense of community and engagement amongst Latinos at Wells Fargo. And I've had the privilege in the last few years to be the president of the ERN. In that role, I've challenged myself and my leadership team to elevate the Latino agenda to the highest levels of the company with Charlie, the operating committee, and this is a great way that we've actually taken an intentional focus and worked together as a team to create better outcomes for our Latinos. We have 32,400 and growing members. We have, or Latinos at Wells Fargo, and then we have 12,000 members, so you can see we're still working on that, and then 49 chapters across the company, and each chapter has leadership, and there's some leaders here. ERN leaders, can you raise your hands? We have some leaders here, and really, this is extraordinary because they do this on their spare time in addition to the many job responsibilities they have, and I'm truly appreciative of that. So we set out to be in a better place when it comes to our people, develop their skills, their network. We set out to elevate the visibility of Latinos internally within the company and externally as well. Focus on having high-performing team, and in doing that, I set a vision as president to make great strides in a few big and important things. I feel like sometimes we get lost in doing a lot of things about an inch deep instead of doing a few things, about a mile long. And so we, in a very short period of time in the last few years, have been ranked the #1 Latino ERN by Latina Style and the U.S. Hispanic Chambers of Commerce. So very proud of that accomplishment. Thank you. We also were, we've done a lot of really unique things, and I'll show you. Oh, hold on. Uh-oh. There was a really cool slide with lots of pictures that you guys are missing out on, but what I was gonna say is that in the short time, what we've done is we have set out to do things that really elevate Latinos at Wells Fargo. For instance, we asked our CEO to sit with us to have a fireside chat, it was the first in the history of our ERNs. We sat down with Charlie to have an hour-long conversation. I called it a cafecito con Charlie. And that actually was a great conversation about the Latino experience at Wells Fargo, where he really got to understand and learn how to support, some of the needs that we had. We also, in a very short period of time, when Congress passed the bill to build the Smithsonian American Latino Museum, I said, gosh, well, we got to play in that, right? We got to support the museum. And so we were able to get $2 million committed. I don't ask for small things, You ask for big things. So we pledged $2 million to the building of the museum, and we also asked our competitors, our friends, others to support that effort. It's an important endeavor. And we also, last September, for the first time, for Hispanic Heritage Month on September 15th, me and 12 of my closest family and friends at Wells Fargo rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. And I had that picture. The joy, if you Google it, Wells Fargo Hispanic Connection rings the bell, you can see it. But the joy you see in our faces is because I think I was like bouncing. I was literally like on cloud 9 because we thought to ourselves, oh, what are the chances? Probably very small that we get such an opportunity, but we were persistent, we kept calling, we kept asking, and next thing you know, we were ushering in Hispanic Heritage Month by ringing the bell. And when you see the pleasure in people's faces of feeling represented, it's unlike any other joy. I don't think the New York Stock Exchange, frankly, has ever had 12 immigrants up on the podium, ringing the bell. And for most of us, English is our second language. And so it was an outstanding effort, and it really taught me about what we were capable of doing when we focus on representation. So how does my whole career journey connect with you all? Well, a huge common denominator is the lack of representation that I often found throughout my career with our clients, with our colleagues in our communities, despite the fact that Latinos account for half of the population growth in this country. 50% of the students in elementary and secondary school in states like California and Texas. 70% of the labor force growth. In our much younger cohort, like I said, graduating more than in any other time in the past, Latinos are yet not pursuing good paying careers in technology. In fact, only about 8% of tech jobs are going to Latinos and only about 2% to Latinas. Latinas in the house. And in managerial positions, sadly, 80% of the jobs are held by Caucasian males. How can you be it if you can't see it? You can't see yourself. How do you do this? So representation matters in more ways than you think. How do you in this room today activate around ensuring that more Latinos pursue technology jobs? How do you demystify careers in tech? It sounds so complicated at times. People think it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not qualified. How do you improve the overall sentiment of Latinos towards jobs in tech? I will venture to say that it starts with all of us. I would venture to say that it starts with approaching Latinos when they're young, like in school, when they're selecting STEM courses, when they're doing summer camps, making STEM coursework available and camps accessible to young Latino families. It starts with leadership and it ends with leadership. So my call to action for you is to activate. I was so happy when you were all doing your intros to hear of all the things that you're doing in this organization to support young Latinos and to support the scholarship programs, et cetera. It starts with you. Activate. Go help your kids' school. Go teach a summer camp. Go volunteer to an organization trying to improve the playing field. Go help your respective companies and their diversity initiatives. Become a mentor. Gosh, our community is woefully under-mentored, and let's not even start talking about sponsorship. Take a young Latino under your wing. If you're a big shot executive, we have a responsibility. You have a seat, use it. Bring others up with you. And it all will take us time. Nothing was done overnight that's worth in this life, but it will take us time, but we will, I guarantee you, move the needle. All those first I talked to you about with our employee resource group, we moved the needle. We were focused, we were intentional, we were passionate, and you can be that too. So, are you all tired of being the exception? Are you? Pretty lonely place when you're like 8%. So, what can we do What can we do to change the landscape so we're not the exception, that we become the rule for our young people, that it becomes the rule, that they can dream of being in technology, that they can pursue careers in technology, that they can have a better lifestyle because they get paid more? What can we do, each of us individually? And I guarantee you, if we all do just one thing, we start this movement. I so appreciate you having me here. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy this wonderful conference. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.